In the face of this continuing health threat, the Department of Education formulated the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan to put into motion the marching orders of the Secretary to ensure that learning continues while guaranteeing the health, safety, and well-being of all learners, teachers, and other DepEd employees. The Learning Continuity Plan recognizes that the Department of Education must adopt alternative modes of learning delivery that can reach all learners regardless of who and where they are. Where school-based face-to-face learning is not possible, the Learning Continuity Plan identifies 3 learning delivery modalities that the school may implement: distance learning, blended learning, and homeschooling. Looc National School of Fisheries, as one of the special program of Technical-Vocational Education implementing schools in MIMAROPA region, had arrived to modular distance learning upon considering all the factors relevant to the learning delivery modalities identified in the Learning Continuity Plan. Meeting was conducted on August 3, 2020, addressing the school's learning delivery modality implementation plan for the school year 2020 to 2021. Different activities to be undertaken during the implementation were discussed and assigned to respective teachers and personnel for systematic execution within the targeted time frame as specified in the Learning Delivery Modality Implementation Plan of the school. The plan was centered on the following categories: learners or class organization, learning performance monitoring, learning resource management, and learning resource distribution and collection management. Simultaneous orientations were conducted on August 5 to 7, 2020 for the purpose of carrying out targets as specified in the Learning Delivery Modality Implementation Plan of the school. Community facilitators were selected and assigned by the respective barangay local government units to perform the collection, distribution, and retrieval of the self-learning modules to and from the learners and the school and vice versa, which will be carried out every Saturday of the week as agreed. Assigned community facilitators pledged their assurance on the procedures to be undertaken for the whole duration of the modular distance learning program. Barangay chairpersons signified their willingness to cooperate, and they made a commitment to support the concerted effort of the school and the community. On the other hand, parents and stakeholders were oriented on the new teaching and learning modality. To adhere to proper health protocols, the parents' orientation was conducted by batches. During the orientation, the discussion was focused on the proper utilization of the modules, its content, expected competencies to be achieved, different tasks to be accomplished, and the role of the weekly home learning plans as guide for the learners and parents. The school emphasized that the parents and guardians should support the learners in terms of their time and effort in supervising the students' learning experience at home.
Katulong niyo po si Angie sa diyan sa pagmo-modular niya?
In the absence of the teachers. Printed weekly self-learning modules will be delivered to class advisors, subject for sorting according to different subject areas per student and the place of their residence. Each file case will be labeled with the learner's name and the different learning area on each compartment. Enclosed in the file case were the following: printed modules with activity and answer sheets, weekly home learning plan for each subject which will serve as the learners and parents' guide in the day-to-day lesson, class program for the scheduled time for each learning area, teachers and community facilitators' cell phone number for clarification or assistance needed, and query sheet for any possible questions or problems. Sorted file cases of modules will be placed in a plastic storage box per barangay or designated residence of the learners, and finally, to be delivered to designated collection and retrieval station of the school for pickup by the community facilitators. Simulation was conducted from September 8 to 15, 2020 in compliance to Division Memorandum Number 00020, Series 2020 of the Division of Occidental Mindoro, reiterating its purpose of ensuring the effective implementation of modular distance learning as one of the most adopted learning modalities of the division based on the consolidated result of the learners' enrollment and survey form, and also to determine the readiness of the schools in the division for October 5 formal opening of classes. On the day before the simulation, community facilitators from the 2 chosen barangays arrived to school's collection and retrieval station to get the storage boxes containing the file cases of the learning modules. Proper health protocols were observed as the community facilitators entered the venue. The checking on the number of the file cases and the fixing of signatures were done simultaneously to make sure that enough number of modules can be distributed to selected grade 10 students for simulation. The learning modules were distributed and handed to the parents through the help of barangay officials. It was likewise agreed that the distribution of the learning modules may be done in the barangay hall where the parents or guardians can get the modules. The community facilitator will decide on this. While the students were at home studying their lessons on the scheduled time, the subject teachers were on their respective areas at school, waiting for the questions or clarifications from the learners and the learning facilitators. This was carried out through the use of text messages, messenger chats, or phone calls. Monitoring of students' performance was done through voice calls or text messages, asking the learner or the learning facilitators on the status of the learners in the lessons. Group of teachers were also assigned to conduct face-to-face monitoring following health safety protocols to observe how the parents are facilitating the learning and how the students are coping with the learning delivery modality. Individual learning monitoring plans templates were used to identify the difficulties met by the students during the week. Through this monitoring sheet, interventions were applied depending on the kind of problems encountered. A home visit could also be done if the problem cannot be solved with the given interventions. The use of the individual learning monitoring plan served as guide for the teacher and the learner to solve the learner's need as reflected from the said template. Self-learning modules for both specialized and mandatory subjects of specialized schools offering strengthened technical-vocational education programs like Looc National School of Fisheries were published by the then TechVoc Task Force, now the Bureau of Curriculum Development. Copies of the self-paced modules or the curriculum-based learning materials are aligned with the competency-based curriculum patterned from TESDA and the Department of Education K-12 curriculum. Components of the learning modules or the CBLM which are highlighted during the delivery of the TechVoc lessons are the following. The pretest is the part of the module which identifies the student's prior knowledge about the new lesson. The assessment criteria is the list of competencies required to be achieved by the learners. The lesson proper and information sheet are part of the module which provide the contents of the lesson and the information needed to accomplish activities provided in the module. The subject is the part of the module which provides formative assessment. Operation sheet or activity sheet provides activity to learners which help them achieve the required competencies. The post-test is given at the end of the week to assess if the learning outcomes were achieved on that particular lesson of the week. The use of rubrics for assessing the performance and evaluation of the activity of the learners is the standard measure in the TechVoc subjects. To monitor the learner's progress chart and achievement chart are two most important tools commonly used by the TechVoc teachers. Documentation of the activity is also a priority factor in this current learning modality. After a week of the simulation, self-learning modules and activity or answer sheets were returned by the parents to designated self-learning material kiosks of the barangay. Community facilitators delivered the storage boxes containing modules to the school the following day. Checking and counting of modules were done by the collection and retrieval committee in charge of the school. The problems encountered by the community facilitators were discussed with the school head, and this served as the frame of reference so that the distribution and retrieval operations of self-learning materials will be easier for both the community facilitator and the school during the actual implementation of the learning modality, since this is going to be a very long engagement of the school and the community. Delivered modules were then returned to the respective subject teachers for checking and evaluation of learners' assessment and activity. During the post-evaluation, minor problems encountered in the process were discussed and addressed. The problems on facilitating learning by the home facilitators and the learners' needs in attaining the learning outcomes for the week were given emphasis. Possible interventions like adjusting the level of difficulty of the tasks, providing guided activity before proceeding to the independent activity, giving sample prototype output, extending the date of submission of the activity, and seeking help from community facilitators were some of the interventions that can be used as need arises. Having carried out all these preparations and simulation, the administration, teachers and staff of Looc National School of Fisheries are confident that the school is now geared up to the actual opening of classes on October 5, 2020.